Okay, take two. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Alchemist and The Oracle, a space where we engage in spiritualized conversations that hopefully deepen understanding, always inspire transformation, and spark meaningful dialogues while being in the need of certain conversations about life's most profound truths and such. I am again Nicole of The Oracle, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Warrioress Ardeshir RN, also known as the
Peace.
Alchemist. So, welcome to the Alchemist and the Oracle. Before we get into today's topic, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, share this video, and give this what are words today? Give this
Thumbs up.
video a thumbs up.
I like.
All right.
With
So today, what are we talking about? Warriors Ardeshir.
girl,
You're picking this.
girl. We're gonna talk about some mental health.
Okay. Okay, so what do you want to talk about in terms of mental health? If there's some
Well,
resistance, she really don't want to talk about it. Or is just so much to talk about?
it's a lot to talk about. I mean, there's so much where it wasn't being talked about, and it was talked about more. I remember one of our word piece I knew before we, did our train together from where I used to live. I'm just in my born town now for now, but I had brought that up at a time where I thought, wow, really cool. And so when I look at what I'm experiencing today, and I'll use a little bit of my own, a little bit of what I see because it is what it is. And when we're talking about being awoke or awakened, it has a lot to do with our consciousness. So let me do this because I am going to use my little notes so I can stay on track with my brain because I know how it likes to roll. So literally. But it be connecting stuff though. It really do. So and anyway, I'm crazy good, so it's all good. So technically spirituality and mental health are interconnected, whether people would ever think that or not. I don't know why would you would not. It's a sense of purpose and belonging that can significantly benefit our overall well-being when we talk about self-care, when we talk about all these other things. However, spiritual struggles can also, they said it can exacerbate mental health challenges, particularly for those with pre-existing conditions. So, I don't know because I don't necessarily know if I want to agree that it can do that. The only way that it can do is to get into the actual topic, some of the potential struggles, and then, of course, to talk about, the positive connections. The coping mechanisms are positive, meaning and purpose, social support, resilience, and, positive, health behaviors. But we get into the negative aspects, the spiritual struggles will have a lot to do with one's belief, one's faith walk. And I'd have to say that that is some of the real seriousness of a lot of mental health, depending on how you were raised, churches where you went, what that faith base was. And religion was created by man. I think that our churches do some really, really, really great things amongst human and serving people and feeding people and doing the things that we do, as a people, serving one another is a great thing. Then we look at, some of the, negative things of religion coping by, judgment and condemnation, which is something that is contradictive to me. No heat, no judgment, y'all. I love it. I have a spot I go to. I love it. My mother, I have a huge connection with my mother there and the people that love her, and just lost somebody in that particular church that I really, really, I hope mama and them, I hope they meet up in the divine realm. It'd be pretty cool. So, and looking at, understanding how spirituality and that can play a healing role in our mental health, but totally mental health is one of those taboo subjects that has been avoided for certain reasons. And it's just like talking about other subjects, it should not be avoided. We have to talk about things going on because as much as I don't look at news, because they talk about why we shouldn't talk about, the stigma, the fear of judgment, the lack of understanding, which a lot of us know all too well, can make people reluctant to discuss their struggles and the things going on mental health wise. I mean, from abuses to even going back, to us speaking about some of the things with women and with our men too, about the trauma that we went through that has effects on our mental health. Abuses from, and this would be raw. I don't know if we'll have to put anything down about this, subject, but I like to call a thing because I've experienced it, and because I experienced it, I don't like to lighten the load, and I think that I've walked real well despite um um, uh, they like to put a light terms on. I was talking to somebody, we shouldn't put light terms on, like being raped or molested or abused. And a lot of it can be physical, a lot of it can be mental, and sometimes the emotional abuse can be even as detrimental as the latter. And so we have to find out where we come. For me, I look at my soul and my evolution had desired me to win, to continue. I have never been bitter. I've never treated anybody any other kind of way because of what I've endured. But did it mess with me mentally? There's a part of me, or my ego doing the protective spot of the ego would say no. But in reality, it did, to some degree. But I was able to persevere because I know that I had to take care of me, and that means to continue to work, to continue to present myself, and I did it very well. I wore the mask, but a lot of them begin in childhood. But I hope to speak about how resilient that we are a people, and I chose not to let them win. I chose not to be the victim, even though I was. I chose to be the victor. And that was a spirit, just the soulness of me. And I've talked about it, which I would say you just had a soul desire to live through all that you endured, through harassment, through these kind of things. And that childhood sets us up to just navigate a certain way, so our past cannot be a product of our current present, because that is no longer something that is happening. So we're able to press forward and still know that we have breath and body to make the change regardless to whatever happened to us in the past. You were talking about that I will go in and do some of the child work because I, have been that person that, you know, sometimes I just let it ride because I didn't have any other choice. So we have to understand that what we've been through, that we have to address it. There's many avenues to do that, and we'll talk about that later, after you chime in a little bit. But some of the stuff I'm seeing when I'm out and about, and I'm very much an old soul, but honey, I have a youthful spirit, and I might say that more than once. So, I like having a little fun like anybody else. Like I said, I play with my younger, godson and all that. And I'm like, no, if you can beat me, baby, you can get best. I'm not gonna let you win nothing. I'm gonna make you better. So it's how I like to utilize the aspect of the brain for positivity and change, because you can shift the narrative. But where I see people and I get the back is people are letting life live them instead of them living life. And so it's just like, well, what the heck? So something I experienced yesterday, the driving, there's something going on with people and we moving too fast. And I have to really watch my energy so I don't get in that part of the human, which is very negative for me, to move at a high rate of speed and not go nowhere, you know. I mean, and he's driving as a perfect example. I mean, what is the purpose? I mean, it's just, it causes undue stress, to you. And the physical body knows more than us. We just don't recognize it till something go down or we're identified with some diagnosis or something, and then we have to make shifts. I'll use food as an example. We look at certain things that, and I say that they've made food very comfortable. So I'm like, I don't want to know what it's like to have comfort food to to ease anything, much less liquor. I like to do that or drink my wine because it's just right on time. It's just, I like to do it. If there's something bothering me, I have been that individual that will, I don't want to do the pleasurable. I don't want any of my pleasurable stuff, do that. I have to sit and I have to do that because I like to do the things I like to do for pleasure versus to numb a certain situation. So we have to get to the core of why we behave in a certain way and why, we have this negativity when we have the real thing to change that. And we have to go within to do so. So our mental health is so important. And a lot of us, yes, some people have not had good childhoods. A lot of us haven't that. We've had either, alcoholic parents or addictive parents, or we had this. But if we're still here and you're listening, for example, to this particular channel, then have, you have not only survived, but probably thrived and didn't even know it, to understand that in your present moment everything is well, and that you have the ability, you have the choice to choose to change anything that's going on in your dynamic. And so when I look at people gonna sit up here, you can't tell me what to do in my car, except for I think people are dangerous as all get up, is that I'm dealing with somebody who think that they can just do what they want to do, block somebody else, and just decide that I got to do what you say I got to do and go around. No, you got some issues, person. You got some issues, child, is the word I want to use. And to deal with the negativity and then cuss at somebody and just throw all out kind of stuff. You don't even know who you talking to. So I mean, there's some things that need to be addressed. I just, looked at that there was something going on with this child, just found out that this shooting just happened at this one college. And I'm like, we are not being aware of what's going on within our children. There's a lot of social interaction, a lot of things that are missing, a lot of stuff. I don't know that the phones and getting into all of this and it is messing with our energy dynamic in mind and brain at the cellular level. So there's this discussion in medicine is not the answer. I think in emergency situations is great, but you have to get down to the underlying problem. And sometimes it's hard for us to look at ourselves, to go deep down, like you say, to get deep down into the shadow cells and release all those things. It's just like things that we say we're going to talk about because yes, I can see that, yeah, my father did A, B, and C, and yeah, I'm a defender, but the truth of the matter was what happened happened. And so I know that I'm connected with my ancestors and this and that. And I think that they know more than they know now than when they were in body, because they can see and recognize our humanness and the domestication that has slowly screwed us up to what's not natural about our innate beingness. So, self-care, all these things, and not talking about what's going on. I'm one person, I don't like to be angry. I don't like to be upset. Still, I'm honoring it more because people do PISS me off.
Wait, you spelled that versus saying it? Okay.
Spell stuff back in the day too. We ain't really said, we used to spell it like a certain word that ends with a P and a Y. I don't want to get it. People, because see, if we so spiritual, we can't talk about words that are just that. I mean, but we can say that because I used to own a cat, but it's easy to say pussycat, but we just can't say it by itself. So see, I just don't get certain things. I just don't. So, we grown folk, and the things of it is that even grown folk who have articulate vocabulary, need to relate. People get you. But people don't talk about the nature of certain things, which causes a whole bunch of things to me around our mental health by not talking about the things that matter, things that just are the truth of what they are. Just like we were just talking about sensuality and sexuality, that people made that too taboo, that some of us end up in relationships and end up in all kind of stuff that don't serve us at all because we don't want to talk about the nature of the naturalness that it is amongst anything. Like we go through something. Some people react to things differently. Like I wrote a piece and I may end up because it's still poetry month, but I can do it anytime I want. Probably recite this piece, and I've only recited this piece publicly twice. And there was a reason why I didn't, but I realized how I wrote it and what it meant can actually uplift somebody. And it's titled to help people who have experienced some of the things that I know that I experienced, but how I did it is something that I want to be able to teach what my innate soul was able to overcome. Because I know you want me to talk about overcoming, and that all has a lot to do with our mental health. So, how we receive it, and then what we do to be able to release it, which are some of the positive things that we can do in essence to release what we've been through so we can be present and so we can soar from this moment forward, and let the past be the past. Yeah, that. So the title of the piece that I wrote a while back, and it was actually at a poetic event at the time, because this person was struggling with something, and this ties into mental health. And they said something to me that prompted me to write this poem in the moment. I don't have that happen a lot, but I found out that they had been um, raped in a certain other way, but it was more emotional, it had to do with work. So this piece just popped out, and it's titled "Rape." It's P is Ara period A period P period E period, and it means to reclaim your place on earth. And so I may go ahead and do it. I don't know whether or not I'll have to say that this is sensitive, but I need people to hear because it speaks on the peripheral of things, and the island which I think it could be. So when we look at certain things of being stripped from our jobs, the things that are going on now with the federal government, and I'd have to say that I feel for these people. I remember when I first got at my one of my other federal government positions, and when they started to what they call downsize, I was like, "What is that?" And people lost it, and I fell for them, and it was just so thing where, like we said, we're more connected than not. You feel things that are people are going through, and you feel for them. But when we look at mental health, we look at all the traumas, we look at the drama, that we cause. We need to recognize this and just be better. We're always looking for someone to fill in that moment. But I say that I have a few friends, including you, that will like, you know, it was something. Oh my God, what was I listening to? That said, "Are you that friend that if somebody's going through something, this and that, and they say, I can't remember what it was about, and just and you can say all, or do you go in and say and get to them and get down to the stuff, or you just leave it, or do you just agree with them, or you go that, or do you get to them so they do not stay in that same place and continue to do the same old things?" And so when we look at the aspect of the of for me, the ego self, or that, okay, I can just do what I want to do because it's all about me. But all about you also affects someone else. And you don't think it does. Just like somebody sitting out the window and gonna cuss and act all ignorant and do that when you don't have no control over nothing here. And to look at why is your behavior that way? What is going your way that makes you think that that is okay? And when it comes to our children, we just had a 15-year-old kill a 18-year-old in a library. And this person was troubled, but we are not using the certain things to really allow them to be able to share what's going on with them without them being judged, without us just listening, for that matter. So I'm gonna let you chime in here because I know I've been talking for a little bit here because it's this is a really meaningful subject that ought to have content because when you look at children, you look at women, you look at men, we're experiencing things differently, but in some regard in the same light. And how we do it and how people need to really, 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 really listen to another human being. And I was going to let you go in, and some just came to me, was even talking about me when I'm looking at, yes, I was successful. I was successful in my own right, knowledgeable, these things, intuitive, all this, but still around. And I know I brought up Jamie Kern Lima before because she's pretty much, and I ain't say that she ain't said publicly on a million little things about worth and having limiting beliefs and people missing that these limiting beliefs were going on with me in the midst of my intelligentness or my giftedness. And those are things that make us small, hold us back from the very, very, very brilliant people that we are, more than being smart. And in the God memorandum, I am the greatest person in the world. You are the greatest person in the world. But you have to know that in order to be that or walk in it, I ought to say. I'll pause here for a moment. So, what do you say, my dear?
You said a lot.
I did.
So we're talking about mental health. In context to
Spirituality.
okay.
The interconnectedness that they are.
Well, I think
Then we get lost.
the so everything's a mental game because we are mental beings. We have a brain and it functions on in a way that on a conscious level and a subconscious level. And the overall mission is to keep us safe.
Safe. Yep.
So when you factor in various experiences that we have, like usually there's experiences that we've had previously that create this negativity bias that our brain just defaults to. I think the most helpful.
Said that we are kind of born with this particular default.
Yeah, that's the brain's default. It's because it's meant to keep us safe. So it has this negativity bias. So it's looking for, danger. Like it's trying to perceive potential dangers and respond accordingly. It's trying to keep us alive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think part of the issue a lot of people have with their mental health, just on the very basic level, is I don't think a lot of people understand what that even means. I don't think people understand how the brain works. I don't think people understand that you are fully capable and have the ability to rewire your brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so
That right there.
I think because, everything is we're all mental, we are all mental. And I think it's how accepting you are and not taking things that you're experiencing or you're perceiving the world around you as being a continual state of threat and not safe.
Right.
And so from that, it causes stress and it impacts your capacity to feel well with your mental state and the world around you and how to perceive it and how to process it and what have you. In terms of the spiritualized piece, I think a lot of people have like what I call the human being divide going on here, is that there's this divide where we're actually supposed to be a being that's human. I think the name, the human being, is part of what keeps us in that indoctrination that you talk about, that you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And when we are in our beingness, just instinctually, we wiring the brain to instinctually default to that mode, and it has to be a mode that we choose to be in, because our brain is not going to necessarily default to that until you reprogram the brain. And that's why it's important to have a spiritual practice, so you can sit with,
Mm-hmm.
you're in your beingness and you're honoring your humanness and meeting yourself wherever that may be, day to day, moment to moment.
Yes. Yes.
So having a spiritual practice, it supports your mental health. It will always support your mental health, because it's what soothes your psyche. It's what soothes your brain. It's what provides your brain that dopamine hit of, you're okay, you're fine, let's calm down. But because we live in a world that has this human being divide, where we're constantly indoctrinated in a way that's like focused on your humanness, your mental health is like, even how they talk about mental health, it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's become very trendy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think the challenge is to meet your humanness from a place of acceptance. And the
Yes.
more comfortable you get in that, the less mental you feel, where there's like you feel like chaotic
Chaos.
or anxious, or anxious, overwhelmed, anger, feeling the emotion. I think I also want to say we have to really stop trying to divide our human and our beingness. It's not a division. It's really like one word, versus
Yeah.
the
It's
hyphenated. It's like, no, it's integrated. So it's like, how do you integrate that in a way that's how you support your mental health? And it's through having a consistent spiritual practice and leaning into that and meeting yourself every day, and that's what really supports your mental health. It calms your brain down.
I
It
guess I also
remembers
will.
the source code.
Yeah. Probably put that maybe we had a couple of books to help people with that because somebody and I've been reading out people, I mean more so today than yesterday are going from 0 to 100. So I remember, I mean, this is just a golf thing that and I try to remember to feel that feeling, but to count. I think like when Tiger Woods said he had a bad shot, he feel it and he's like count 1, 2, 3, or he would count from 3 to 1 backwards and on to the next shot. You gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. It's just like people driving around with car long as they haven't touched me, scraped me, come anywhere near me because I try to put a bubble. And normally I can tell when somebody's about to do something mm, they ain't supposed to do in the car.
You have this weird thing with your car. It's interesting. But anyway, ignore me.
I'm very, very connected. So when we talk about spirit, people say that is not. Well, the creator is in everything. Everything that has been made, including this or the computer for which you may be watching or the phone, has been made from the earth in some capacity. I mean, not in some capacity, in a capacity at all. So, I
In
mean,
every capacity.
in every, yeah. So when I'm connected, I know when something is not right with my vehicle. I know when it needs this because I get the sixth sense, which is the spiritual connection of the ties that I have with something that gets me from point A to point B that I truly enjoy. And anybody else's car that I ever get into, I have to sit in it. I need to know where everything is. I dynamic the width and everything, and I become the car in a sense.
That's what people
So
need to do with their brains. What you're
yeah.
describing is like how
Hmm.
a lot of people we're not taught how to. I think we're starting to see where they do meditation at a young
Hmm.
age or what have you,
Hmm.
and they do much more of connecting to the beingness
Hmm.
of children. But what you're saying is how can you know how things work? How can you honor your brain and the different functions that it has? A lot of
We
people
have
aren't
to.
there.
They're not. We have to get out of the world, and we have to go within. We have to be. And I say this because I struggle. I mean, but I think that I do it differently because normally I can be in my house or anywhere, and if it's quiet, I don't have to have the TV on. I use my music to Tony Robbins has another one. Major Ear has one. Van Zandt. Tony Robbins is what I'm talking about. He calls his priming. Major Ear calls it something else to uplift your vibration in the morning. Prime is good. And the whole thing is that the ego is gonna fight the good
Like
stuff. Just
priming.
tell me.
Priming is a
Huh?
lot for me in the morning.
Yeah, priming and it's in and out the nose, in and out the nose is his event. Major Ear has a different one, and then making it a part of your regular day and getting out of the world or other people. And then one of the other part of under perfection limiting belief that I haven't got to speak with yet, because obviously I need a heck of a lot of rest right now because it takes a lot to speak about those, which is what is called um oh my god, validation seeking. So a lot of us do validation seeking some approval from something other than inside ourselves. So we're looking outside ourselves for satisfaction, for pleasure, for all this. And when we don't meet it, then we go off or we go to somewhere else because we have not explored ourselves. And then when we talk about sensuality, that's one aspect of exploring yourself. Before anybody can do anything, you have to know more about yourself than they do. So, and then, undomesticating from the world. So there's a poem that I definitely want to have one because I believe every aspect after 8 years of almost writing it this month is I am becoming. And my soul wrote this in two parts. I had to put it together so it flowed. So the stanzas flowed. And that is releasing, and people are talking about it more. And I did this 8 years ago. And in my soul, in the car, in the driveway, we're actually on the grass because I had to park on the grass in the back. And then it wasn't through with me. And so to die, to die. People think to die is to leave body. Well, actually, you don't die in the sense that man says. You just leave body, you cross over. But to die every day is become a new version of yourself every day. And you need to know that it's okay to do that. Some people are going to leave, some people are going to go. But for your mental health, because you can't blame nobody else. You can't be jealous of nobody else. I had somebody in this, I don't know, well, I do know how much these cars cost. They can't even put on a blinker. I mean, really? So that's kind of where I go. I'm in a car sometimes, just like, so I have to come back to myself and be like, yep, you can't control that. You can't control that. You can't control that. And 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 stop looking or to be like someone else or to be like this. I don't want anyone, and I think I'd have people around me that would not let me sit in any type. And of course, there's not much that now because of who I am and who I'm continuing to choose to become in body as a human to help shift the narrative so we can live better lives. But see, the choice is yours. See, I can't choose more for you than you want for yourself. And you definitely have choice to choose to be better, to know better, to get better. And sometimes, people and things have to fall off. But if you want to sit there to each their own, but know that your behaviors and how you think, how you move, how you be, as they just say, affects other people. So that part of your mental health is not a good thing. And so you have to come within, you have to be still. If other people, people can do what they want to do, don't mean that you got to do it. It's the whole narrative that goes back to the thing people say, well, if someone tell you to go jump off the cliff, are you going to do it? Because they're not going to jump.
Or maybe they may know a way to jump off where they don't fall and die. Maybe it's this specific point where they jump off the cliff. Because I've heard I had a teacher in college that broke it down, like jumping off the cliff. Like he took it a step further, and he was
cool.
He was like, he's like, it's not about jumping off the cliff, right? He's like, how are we jumping off of the cliff? Where are we going when we jump off the cliff?
Okay.
What's down below at the bottom of the cliff?
Like that.
Ask more questions is what he was saying. Because people don't ask questions.
Agreed. I remember a time, that's just interesting because I remember a time I didn't know what to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that part.
Yeah. Oh,
I think you hit on, because what we're talking about, it goes back to how the brain it's trying to keep us safe, right? And that's one part of it. And then you're speaking about how we as humans, we want to be part of the tribe. And so we do what we need to do in order to be part of the tribe. And so we look at how we may perceive the person that is been identified as like, this is the ideal person. Like everyone tried to be like this person. And so that's what you attempt to do because this is your tribe. And I need to ensure that I don't get put out of the tribe. And I think a lot of times we have fears.
Yes.
As well. And there's different levels of fears.
Glad you brought that up.
As well.
That's a part of it too.
I think it goes back to how can we understand how we as humans function and why we function in the way that we do? If you understand that the brain has a negativity bias, understand
Mm-hmm.
why it is. It's trying to keep us safe. There's a perceived
Mm-hmm.
threat or perceived fear. Then dive a little
Mm-hmm.
deeper, like, okay, what are the different fears that at the very base level um, are the type of fears that a lot of humans have? I think we have to start to understand the human design of it all.
Mm-hmm.
When you,
Uh,
that's part of
mm-hmm.
awakening, when you really start to, well,
Become
once you,
aware.
well,
Yeah.
beyond awakening, because awakening can be very disturbing. When you get awakened and you don't want to go back to sleep, beyond that part, like
Mm-hmm.
there's like
Mm-hmm.
5 levels above that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when you get to really being curious and exploring and realizing, like, you know what, this is curious. Why do I get in such upset about the fact that whatever, I can't even think of a reason, fill in the blank, right?
What?
um and and just ask yourself, like, why is that? And when you can lean in curiously,
Like fear of failure?
hmm,
Like fear of failure or something like that?
whatever it is, it's specific for
Mm-hmm.
people. It's very
It is.
specific to people. That's why I didn't want to, like, y'all know, yeah, if you're following along, I'm sure something pops up in your head, like, you know what your what is your default thing that
Mm-hmm.
is like your fear. We all have like that, at least that
Like people going
one
to a
that kind of is
default
on
of
a loop.
anger, default of sadness, those
But
kind of.
what does that mean? That's just an emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's deeper than that. What are
That's
you
true.
sad about? Go deeper.
Agreed.
Start with
Agreed. Agreed.
identifying the emotion, because I think a lot of people aren't even comfortable identifying how they feel as well. You
Yes. Yes.
listen.
You know that we
The whole
learned that.
point, one of the whole points of us having these conversations is spiritual. Like, we talk about the truth, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
truth is, there's nothing wrong with you. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with us.
That's right.
What we have been, what the challenge is that we have all of these things that we are trying, for whatever reason, to get to a place of feeling safe in your world. So, what
Mm-hmm.
feels safe for me in my world, in any different scenario, too, it shifts and changes. I have to call that out. What is
Mm-hmm.
that for you? And knowing what that is, because you talked about childhood and childhood trauma and how that really does
Mm-hmm.
shape you. Your entire adult life is spent reparenting yourself.
Right. That part.
It's all about reparenting.
And
And
that's the choice that you have to do so.
but it's given to us by default. A lot of us just don't even, they're not even aware. They don't even feel that they have the capacity to like reparent themselves either. But
Well, that's a
with
part
the
of the.
reparenting, like, you think, I always
Mm-hmm.
think of, like, how would you approach like a little baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
or like, think of a baby
That's a
that's
good
starting
example.
to
I think
walk.
he has brought that
A
up. Yeah, yeah,
baby
yeah,
that's
yeah.
starting to walk. You wouldn't push
Mm-hmm.
the baby down. You wouldn't be like, you little person, why can't you figure out how to walk? You haven't figured out how to walk. No. Most people are
Most
much more
people.
patient. They're much more encouraging, like, yay. Like,
Most
if they
people are.
follow, like,
Most people.
oh, get back up. You can do it. We need to start
That's right.
approaching ourselves as a parent. We have to, because we're reparenting ourselves. And I think a lot of times we are so cruel to
You have to
ourselves.
remind
We
that.
beat
Yes,
ourselves up.
yes,
And I'm saying this to remind
yes,
people, you're reparenting yourself. So approach yourself like you are that child, that toddler that's learning how to walk, or the toddler that's learning how to talk or to communicate and
yes,
such. Because that's part of the
yes.
awakening process, is you're coming back to yourself. But we usually come back to ourselves as adults, and we have to learn, like, oh, what are all these things that are going on, and it's on a subconscious level as well as
the
the conscious
things
level.
the things that we have to brush off and renew, and like you said, to come back to your authenticity, your authentic self.
Yeah.
No, because your authentic self isn't all those other things that bring you suffering. Because people think they know what suffering is. You are suffering in those in those moments that you just mentioned, and why we have to redo it, like meditation, journaling. Think journaling. Like, see, I know if I start journaling, I'd rather journal for an hour and keep on going. And I think the ego be like, that's just too long. That's just too long. I'm like, ain't none of your business how long I need to write out this stuff, and to get back into it. And it's such a resistance when you're trying to be who you were meant to be. There's resistance. There's a fight. There's a battle.
That bully.
And it's like,
Ego's the
yeah,
childhood bully.
yeah. And you have to choose, which do you prefer? And I don't prefer to suffer no more, not knowing, not being aware, not being awake, and not anymore, or to deal with nonsense, drama, and trauma and people, because we have to realize that we have to let people be people. It's just like this is a person in the car is like, if somebody wants to move, let them do what they do, whatever makes them happy. If you're still gonna be, because we didn't come in the body together. I mean, I can go back in 2020's perfect examples that keep coming up. Each one here, but it comes back to knowing who you're with, who you are, your likes, your dislikes, your this, your that, and allow people to have their space. And go back to the song. Don't take it personal. I need my space, and then I know, regardless to how George Martin may feel about anything, she's like, I need my such and such a time in my spiritual room with the door closed. And her husband, no, I need to do this before I actually come out into the world.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be with myself for a little bit, And meditation, prayer is just that talk that you have to yourself. Prayer could be positive affirmations, for yourself. Creating, people get all twisted about rituals. I remember doing what's her name skincare, and she said the ritual what you do in the morning ain't what you think it is. Y'all need to go look up stuff for yourself. It's a process. And then when you're taking care of yourself, you have a ritual, a self-care ritual, which is a routine, a
That's all
sacred
it is.
routine.
Just a
That's
different
all it is.
word. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a freaking routine, a sacred routine that you can choose to have, however you make that. And they were tripping on the word ritual with let me just break it down. Alicia Keys. So I mean, and I'm just tripping because people, I just don't get it. I say, did y'all ever look at the word? Did you ever research the word? Or did you just going by other things, other religions, other spirits that y'all ain't looked into stuff your own self? Research yourself, look up words, get to the root of what something means, and then when we talk about the essence of yourself, getting to the root of what you mean. Who are you? Who are you really? You ain't what other people say you are. Because it's the very essence of you when you ain't out in the world. Because people call being lonely, I can never be without nobody. No, because you keep getting in the same old relationships because you haven't spent any time getting to know you and what you like, what you would like to attract to you, what you desire to be versus what not be. Because if you keep talking about what you don't have, you'll keep attracting it. And get it now. You get it now. You get it now. Oh, remind me of somebody who speaks like that. Oh, Maya Angelou. Um, you know, it's that thing. We don't have to suffer uneasily. That's why Pager gets into into what she does to awaken. And if y'all listen to the song, called Wake Up Everybody by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. It's also on the Still Relevance to the Day. And then when we have something going on, we like the numb stuff. I think there's benefits in certain modalities, but if we're using it not to deal with what we need to address, then it don't really go away. It just what's the word I want? It just gets worse. I like to use this word, I think it begins with an A. I think it's acerbate. Well, you make it worse. You make it worse. It doesn't go away. It just doesn't. It never was. You have to deal with it. And dealing with something up front gives you more peace of mind than it doesn't. I hate half of the bills that come in, but you got to find a way to say thank you. If you're able to pay them, you have to say thank you. Don't let it get to you. If something comes up, most of the time we can sense when something is going on, like a job. You can sense stuff, but we ignore it because it's like, oh, it can't happen to us. Well, a
You
lot of
do.
stuff has happened to us. Yeah, we do. Ooh, tell me I
That's
do.
but you're tapped in and you have given yourself permission to feel that feedback. A lot of people don't feel that
Hmm.
feedback.
I
I'm
mean,
looking at the time. We're at the end of the time. Was there anything you wanted to kind of close out with?
well, I'd like to close out with some practices that would be great for you, and you have to pull away from people. I don't care whether your children, your husband, your significant other, your friend, your whatever, is to do some prayer if you don't know, and that's just talking out loud about what you desire. Some things you want to go. Journal's a real great one. Positive affirmations, meditation, silence. Rager's got something, even 10 minutes for the people, complimentary for people who are losing a job, or for anybody for that matter, 10 minutes of silence with her voice, which is a really common one. And, create rituals to help you manage your stress and anxiety. You are not that. What you put I am to, you become. It's just like, no, so you want to become something great. So put your I am in front of something great, before it, find some, you know, work that's meaningful, or something that you would do. As my friend says, this thing about saying, what would I do if I didn't get paid for it, even though I want to get paid for it, but what would I do if I didn't get paid for it? What is something that brings great joy to you? From music to dancing to coloring to walking in nature to going and kicking it on the beach or the lake. We got a lot of great lakes, and then we got some oceans. You know, um, get some support, some social support for people who elevate you, uplift you, help you grow, help you be better than you are in the moment. Have a strong, resilience, have a strong, spiritual system that fosters resilience. And physical activity is a great stress release, just to go walk away from everything. And that means that's away from the phone, because not unless you have a separate music device, which I ain't going to name some because I'm not going to name them. Some of them are older, some of them still work too. You just have to put a corded thing on them. Because if you have the phone, you're more apt to play with your phone if you're going on this quiet journey. Music is good, or just listening, to the sounds around you.
Or you can
Um,
turn your phone on airplane mode.
that's true.
There's
So,
different
so
settings in your
yes,
phone.
that's true.
Do
I
not
forgot about that one. I
disturb.
know I do remember it sometime. Yes.
Sleep
Do
mode.
not disturb is great. But some of us don't are not disciplined with so you said we look at it, we see a
Yeah.
notification, and then we on it, and you just dismiss this whole nice walk you
5 hours later.
Oh God, yes, I swear to God, just a no. So, yeah, okay, I'm looking for my shirt, and my theme song is um, double hockey sticks is a word that I don't mind, but this song is about his preacher, and I'm telling you the lyrics that he has, I agree. It's hell to the no, no, no. So y'all do right by you. Let the phone go.
Oh my God, the video just always pops in my head. Hell to the no,
No,
no.
no, no.
Oh
I'm
my
telling you,
gosh.
it's
That is
just a
so
no.
your theme song.
Where my no glasses at? I'll wear them next time.
All right.
It's a beautiful
Anything
thing.
anything else before we say goodbye? And remind them to subscribe to the channel if they haven't already, and to give this video a thumbs up and share to those other humans that have a
Share.
brain
That's the
and
share
thus
signal.
have mental health, because we're all mental, right?
Yep, definitely mental.
Anything else?
Mental, that masculine energy need to get into that feminine energy. We'll talk about that down the line as well.
What do you want them to comment down below? What's the comment down below? What's the call
Comment
to
down below.
action, as they like to say in the, I know you get tired of hearing the call to action.
Well, one of the call to actions is to do the work that brings you peace and joy within. Get out of your head and get into your heart. And that means getting to know the essence of who you are and shake off all the rest. Sometimes people will drop off, and sometimes that's okay, in order to be your best and peace-filled self. So do the journaling, do still in silence. Be still. Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still and know that you are grand and of the greatest of creations.
All right. Comment down below. I am fill in the blank. What do you know for sure that you are?
Right,
Yeah.
that's great.
All
Yeah,
right.
I am. That's a
With
good one.
that, thanks for being in conversation with me, Warrioress Ardeshir RN. And we hope to see you all in a future episode.
Yes, please come join. Please comment. We appreciate you.